This is One-on-One.
I struggle a lot, and most of the time it's because my stomach is really hurting.
So let's take a look.
My teacher tells me to get focused, and she told me to write focus on my little sticker. And every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be focusing. I start yawning, then I zone out. And so I'm just looking at the teacher, and I look at her, and all I think about is food. So I have these little visions in my eyes. Sometimes when I look at her, I vision her as a banana, so she goes like a banana. And then everybody in the class is like apples or oranges. And then I'm like, oh, great.
There's a clip from the film, A Place at the Table, and we have the two filmmakers here. First, Laurie Silverbush and her colleague, Kristi Jacobson. I want to thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Talk to us about this film. What's the message? What's it about?
This is the movie that asks how it's possible that 50 million Americans are going hungry in the wealthiest nation on earth. It tells the stories of people who are experiencing food insecurity or malnourishment in the form of obesity, which is also a really big problem, all linked to the fact that we are a nation with more than enough food for everybody, but we don't feed everybody.
We're talking 1 in 4. 1 in 4 Americans. Did we move up to that number, or has that number been that number for a long time? What's the story?
Well, it's one in 6 Americans
1 in 6?
right now, yeah, and 1 in 4 kids.
Well, I'm sorry, 1 in 4 kids.
Yeah, and
which is even worse.
Exactly, it's very upsetting, and frankly, we have been on the rise. The number of hungry people in America has been increasing since the 80s every year. And it's an astronomical number here in a country where, as Laurie said, you know, we have the food, we have the resources, we have the infrastructure. It's not because of famine. It's not because of natural disasters. It's because of systemic forces at play that are preventing all Americans from being able to have food that will allow them to thrive.
Where'd the idea for this come from? Two of you filmmakers. This is not a new problem, but you chose to tackle it because?
I was seeing the effects on a kid that I was mentoring. I had a young girl that I was spending time with, kind of like a big sister thing, and I found out that she went hungry on a regular basis, and it was impacting her whole life in many negative ways. She couldn't thrive, she couldn't study, she couldn't keep up. She had emotional issues. She felt lousy about herself, and she felt lousy most of the time. And when I finally understood that it was about hunger, of course, I started to feed her, and then she'd still have the problem the next day. Or I'd bring food to the family, and then the next week, it still was there. And it was so frustrating to think that no matter how much I helped her, the problem wasn't going away. And it begged the question of what's going on, as Kristi said, what is going on with the system that's broken here? Because I see food all around me, and I see evidence of food charity all around.
Yes.
And so when we started doing our homework, we discovered that, you know, all the charity combined in this nation is only maybe covering about 10% of the need. And that's shocking when people hear that. All the charity in this country is only meeting about 10% of the need.
So take a step back. I said earlier today, we've had these amazing people who come into the Tisch WNET studio for these one-on-one interviews. And earlier today, we had the head of the New York City Community Food Bank. Now, that's part of the charity you're talking about.
Yeah.
Put all these food banks
And they do a
together,
great
other
job.
efforts,
Yeah.
they do a great job. And they are having an impact on how many?
It's a little bit shocking because
How few?
Probably about 10% of the demand is being met through charity food. The vast majority of feeding programs are government policies that help make up the difference, but they're not making up the difference enough. And even a family that's receiving assistance in the form of supplemental, SNAP, which is what we call food stamps now, or WIC, typically will get them halfway to 3
WIC
weeks.
is Women, Infants, and Children.
Infants and children, right. It's a feeding program for mothers of young children and children between the age of birth and 5 years old. And they're typically only making it about halfway through the month or 3/4 of the way through the month if they're lucky. And that's about to get much worse because our country is debating radical cuts to that program as we speak.
So for people who are watching, we're doing this around the holidays at the end of 2013, for the people who say, okay, so I want to be a part of the solution. I'm going to go to the community food bank. I'm going to be involved in charity, and I'm going to give food away, or I'm going to give money to a food bank who provides food. And that's a good thing. You're saying that's good, but...
I think, so it's a necessary thing in order to prevent people from being hungry today.
But
in the making of this film, we discovered on our journey that it's not nearly enough. And we're hearing that from people like the directors of the food banks all across the country when we screen the film are saying, we can't do this alone, we can't meet the need. And the food bank system was created, it was called emergency food. So it's for people in times of need,
right,
to help them eat that day. And that, again, is really important, but what we feel is the next necessary step, and a very important one, is for people to have a voice in this, to make their elected officials know it's not okay that my neighbors are hungry, or that I'm hungry, or that people in my community are hungry, and our government, as well as kind, generous people, need to respond. Okay. And that's one of the things when you asked about why we made the film, is that we looked back through history at how not only how we as a nation were addressing this problem, but we found that there was a documentary that aired in 1968 on CBS that showed real starvation-like conditions.
That documentary was called?
Hunger in America.
Hunger in America.
And a lot of people remember it, and but what it did was it showed the problem in stark, images, but it also didn't let the government off the hook. It said, you're to blame. We have to look at the country and what's happening here, and real solutions came out of that. Since then, more of the portrayals are about who's hungry, and there are hungry people, and we need to feed them through food drives. But we're suggesting that we look at the bigger picture.
So here's the thing. Government policy. The film argues for changes in government policy. Be specific. So someone watching right now and says, I want to be a part of the solution. I just don't want to be moved emotionally. By the way, we have another clip from the film. We're gonna run a clip in just a moment. Moving people is one thing. Connecting with them emotionally. Obviously, good film can do that. Not nearly enough. Name a government policy that both of you are saying we need to change if we're going to begin to make a dent in this very complex problem.
Well, every 5 years, the Farm Bill comes up for reauthorization. And it's a huge piece of legislation. I think most people's brains shut off, unless they're a farmer, when they hear about it. But all of the nutrition...
So in Iowa, they would care.
Very much.
Go ahead.
But the
in the early presidential primaries, they would care in Iowa.
Oh, yes.
But why would the rest of us care? Should we care?
They should care because every nutrition title, including school meals, school nutrition, are housed in that Farm Bill. And because there's so many competing interests in that one piece of legislation, right now we have a situation where we continuously underfund nutrition titles and demonize the people who participate in them, many of whom are working people who aren't able to make it even with full-time jobs. So they still need assistance in putting food on the table. We somehow make them at fault, but at the same time, we're giving vast sums in the forms of crop subsidies, crop insurance to very, very successful industrial agricultural operations that don't need it.
Corporate farms.
Yes, and those funds are rarely under attack, and we don't see them getting the same treatment as the people who are struggling.
Welfare for farmers.
We don't call it a handout.
It's welfare for farmers, many would say. And so what is it that we want, that you're arguing that Americans should be caring about and doing, that has a direct impact regarding the Farm Bill, which has a direct impact on the problem you're addressing in this film?
We're talking about adequately funding those nutrition titles, like food stamps, like school meals, and we're talking also about reforming those programs so they meet the needs of the people who are struggling. Because right now we sort of have an out of date approach, and we need to get on top of that and make it a priority.
One more time, take a look at the film. By the way, plug it again. Name of the film is?
A Place at the Table.
Being seen where these days?
Well, now it's on Netflix. It's also playing in communities all across the country. There's been a huge wellspring of interest in it. Maybe it's because it's Thanksgiving and Americans are primed to care about this issue this time of year, but we're seeing it playing in communities across the country, and real momentum's growing around it, which is exciting.
Place at the Table. Let's take another look right now.
charity is a great thing, but it's not the way to end hunger. We don't fund our Department of Defense through charity, you know. We shouldn't, you know, see that our kids are healthy through charity either. This should be, you know, something that in our country, in America, the richest country in the world, you know, we should, you know, take care of our kids.
Where'd you get that guy?
He called us. That's what's amazing.
No way.
Yeah, he
Yes, he
called
did.
us. You know, it's so interesting. We had reached out to him, but he was in the middle of an Oscar campaign for True Grit, I think it was. Was it True Grit?
Crazy Heart.
Crazy Heart.
We should tell
And
everyone that's Jeff Bridges. We should let everyone.
He was
Yeah.
just super busy, but we knew that this was an issue he cared about. He had spent the last 30 years working, he had created a group called the End Hunger Network and was very, very knowledgeable in the way that a lot of celebrities who get involved in issues don't have that deeper understanding of what's going on. And then he contacted our producing partners, Participant Media, and said, I understand you're making a film about hunger. I really care about it. How can I be helpful? We figured out how.
Yeah.
Thank God for people like him.
Yeah, yeah.
And we want to thank you, Laurie Silverbush and Kristi Jacobson, filmmakers of a wonderful film, an important film called A Place at the Table. And you have a place here at Public Television to help tell your story, and we want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you
for having us.
Means a lot.
We
Thank
are
you.
here at the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
One on One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Health Network, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan, TD Bank, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, Cone Resnick, and by PSE&G. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One on One with Steve Adubato has been made possible in part by Celgene.